ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Page 6. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Those words never felt more true than they do this evening. How good it is to be together. Hine ma tov. Shevet achim gam yachad. L'shana tova. To all of those worshiping with us here in this sanctuary, welcome back. It's good to see your eyes. To all of our members and guests watching online, welcome. We are grateful that you have chosen to worship with us. You know, in an online world, the whole Jewish community feels connected. Of course, that also means that you could have easily chosen to participate in any number of High Holy Day online offerings. Maybe I shouldn't have told you that. Thank you for being with us. Honestly, we understand that what we really want is to know that we are part of a community. And that's what draws us together, whether in person or online. We feel strengthened by knowing that we have a place, an extended family to which we belong. We particularly sense that need for strength this year. It has been a difficult year. Rosh Hashanah returns us to a vision of hope and possibility. No disease, no challenges are so great that we cannot prevail. We will prevail, and we are united in our prayer that the coming year will bring healing, comfort, and new possibilities for all of us. Our Yom Tov candles will be lit this evening by Janet Ellis-Milder. Please turn in your prayer book to page 11, and those of you watching online can find our prayer book, Mishkan HaNefesh, on our website under virtual resources.
The first mitzvah in the Torah is let there be light. So we are commanded in everything you do, be a menorah, a bringer of light. Live with honor, act with integrity, do your work with passion. And the radiance of your deeds will live after you. May our ideals burn bright, forever unextinguished, and may we live our lives like the flames we kindle, always stretching upward, striving for the good, reaching for you.
Asher Kiddushanu b'mitzvotav
Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, teaching us holiness through sacred obligations, giving us the mitzvah of bringing light on this festival.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'eheyanu v'kiyamanu v'hegianu l'zman hazeh.
Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, giving us life, upholding the life within us, and bringing us to this time.
We continue on page 12.
To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. This is the season of the soul, a time to rejoice, a time to reflect, a time to return, a time to gather round the table with loved ones and friends, a time for song and silence, for prayer and confession to open the heart, a time to retreat to our sanctuaries within, a time to renew the life and spirit of our community. This is the season of attentiveness, a time to notice what has unfolded and what has not, a time to regret, a time to forgive, a time to remember cherished dreams and high ideals erased by reality. This is the season of hope, like mist rising at sunset, like dew descending at dawn. Our hopes beautify and nourish everything they touch. Our hopes make us partners in creation, pursuers of peace, people who aspire to a world of justice. This is the season of awe. When our eyes behold it, may we feel blessed. When we turn toward each other, let us feel strength. When we seek the holy, may we find purpose. May we find courage.
May we find love. Page 15. Tiku v'chodesh shofar, at the new moon, at the full moon, for our feast day, sound the shofar, for that is the law of Israel, the way of the God of Jacob. Baruch atah Adonai, shomea kol truat amo Yisrael barachamim. Blessed are you in our lives, Adonai. You hear with love the shofar, true voice of your people Israel. Tekiah. Page 19. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu. Yehi ratzon shenizkeh levirchotecha b'shnat chameshet alafim u'shva me'ot u'shmonim v'shtayim. Our God and God of our ancestors, may we know your blessings in the year 5782. Eternal One, bless us and the whole house of Israel with renewed life, happiness, and peace, comfort and courage, resilience and strength. May the words of our heart be acceptable to you in the new year that stretches before us. We are forever grateful for the gift of life. We rise for Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. You may be seated. Page 23.
The quickening of the moon calls us to return, and we gather, seam dwellers on the edge of the earth. As the sun lowers itself into the sea, introspection rises. A sliver cracks the heart of the firmament, the vast blackness and an invitation to write ourselves anew. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, creator of twilight and dusk.
Love beyond all space and time, your love enfolds your people, Yisrael. We receive it in your teaching, your gifts of Torah, sacred obligations, discipline, and law. So let us speak these teachings when we lie down and when we rise up, and find forever in your Torah and mitzvot. They are the very essence of our life, ours to ponder and study all our days. May we never lose or be unworthy of your love. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael, for you are blessed, the one who loves your people, Yisrael.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות להם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. מת.
Page 33. To break the bonds of anger, to be generous of heart.
To break the bonds of shame, to live with self-respect.
To break the bonds of envy, to serve one another in joy.
To break the bonds of boredom, to be attentive to all God's gifts.
To break the bonds of fear, to live with courage and strength.
To untie the knots of betrayal, to love with fullness of being.
To break the bonds of loneliness, to receive a hand of hope.
To break the bonds of self-centeredness, to extend a hand of help.
Released from the darkness, our people found their freedom at the sea.
And we pray for liberation at the dawning of this year.
מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. Page 37.
Rosh Hashanah in the pines. Darkness settles slowly across the horizon. The new year rises before us, its fragile moon awaiting our embrace. Heaven and earth entwine in their annual dance of recreation. A fissure appears in the firmament tonight, an entranceway into new beginnings. Out beyond the swales, the sea expands and contracts, keeping time to the thrumming of the universe. Under this Rosh Hashanah sky, the path before us is uncertain. All we can do is hold each other tight as we make our way home. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim.
Page 42. Please rise for the Amidah. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agite hilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'nehem, Leman Shemo B'Yahava, Zochreinu L'chaim, Melech Hafetz B'chaim, Melech Hafetz B'chaim, V'chotvenu B'sefer HaChaim, Lemancha Elohim Chaim, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Vezrat Sarah. You may be seated. Page 57.
This is the season of God. This is the season of our humanity. And this is the day when one word stands at the very center of Jewish prayer, Meloch. 3 Hebrew letters, Melech, Lamed, Chaf, reign over space and time. Meloch, reign over the infinite expanse. Show us your reality. Help us see our finite place in the cosmos that is our home. What is God's sovereignty? What is God's rule? It is the rule of unity by which we sense coherence in the universe. It is the power of relationship, relating every image of God to every other image of God and to every facet of nature. Sunshine and ocean waves, heartbeats, honeybees, the stuff that stars are made of. It is the ultimate power that governs our lives with wisdom, compassion, truth, and kindness. In this season of God, may we breathe new life into the ancient name, Melech HaOlam, and may the ruler of the universe breathe new life into each of us.
Help me to serve you truly with purity of heart. When I hear hateful or degrading speech, let me focus on good words and worthy thoughts. When my worst instincts cause me torment, teach me to care for myself and for others. In rough waters and misfortune, let me harbor patience and strength. Make my soul a sanctuary, that your light may dwell within me. Align all my acts in pursuit of goodness, so may I be a vessel of holiness, serving you with purity and truth.
Page 60. Say Adonai Eloheinu, Amecha Yisrael, Utefilatam, Be'ahava tikabel. Humbled in prayer, we seek to reach you, hoping to be heard. Hearts open wide, longing to be true. Oh, let us know that you are near. Open our hearts so we may hear the still clear voice within us all. May we be worthy in our prayer and feel your presence everywhere. May we answer when you call. We'd say Adonai Eloheinu, Amecha Yisrael, Utefilatam, Ba'ahava tikabel. Oh, let us know that you are near. Open our hearts that we may hear the still clear voice within us all. May we be worthy in our prayer and feel your presence everywhere. May we answer when you call. And may you answer when we call. Say Adonai Eloheinu. Say Adonai Eloheinu. Page 65.
After a long illness, I was permitted for the first time to step outdoors. And as I crossed the threshold, sunlight greeted me. So long as I live, I shall never forget that moment. And everywhere in the firmament above me, in the great vault between earth and sky, on the pavements, the buildings, the golden glow of sunlight. It touched me too, with friendship, with warmth, with blessing. And I remembered how often I had been indifferent to the sunlight, how often preoccupied with petty and sometimes mean concerns, I had disregarded it. And I said to myself, how precious is the sunlight, but alas, how careless of it we are. Source of blessings, may we open our eyes to the radiance around us. May we open our hearts with gratitude and our souls with appreciation.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. בספר חיים ברכה ושלום. ברכה ושלום, נזכר וניכתב לפניך, אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל. Adonai, Oseh Shalom.
You could find words for silent prayer on pages 68 and 69. Shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom. Aleinu le'achol Yisrael, ve'yimeru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, amen. A little lower than usual. Page 74. Read first.
Avinu Malkeinu. I'm sorry, Avinu Malkeinu. Strong was the faith of generations before us in exile. They proclaimed enduring hope. In the shadow of a persecution, they affirmed a transcendent love and compassion. Ours is a different age, less confident and certain, more tentative in its trust. There are many who say to the works of their hands, "You are our gods," but when our worship centers on our own creations, we feel less gratitude, more doubt, and despair. This is the paradox of our spiritual lives. We grow smaller in self-exaltation, nobler when we reach for you. On this night of return, let us find the humility to come close to you and open ourselves to your presence, for you are absent only when we fail to make room for you in our hearts, distant only when we turn away from you. Now, as others have done before us, let us overcome doubt and speak these words of affirmation. We call you Avinu. As loving parent, forgive our wrongs and failings, accept us in our human frailty. We call you Malkeinu. As sovereign of our souls, help us rise from our brokenness to build a world of shalom. To this vision, we offer ourselves anew.
Now, as we open the Ark, I invite you to please rise and join us on pages 76 and 70. On page 76, we're going to read together in Hebrew and in English. Avinu Malkeinu, ein lanu melech ela ata. Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful,
you alone are our sovereign.
Avinu Malkeinu, lema'ancha rachem aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, for your sake, show us mercy.
Avinu Malkeinu, aseh imanu lema'an shemecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name.
Avinu Malkeinu, shalach refuah shlema lecholei amecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, bring healing and wholeness to the ill among us.
Avinu Malkeinu, kra roa gzar dinenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, allay the harshness of the decree against us.
Avinu Malkeinu, kodvenu b'sefer geula v'shua.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of redemption and renewal.
Avinu Malkeinu, zochrenu b'zichron tov lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, remember our goodness and call it to mind.
Avinu Malkeinu, aseh lema'ancha v'hoshienu.
Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake and save us.
Avinu Malkeinu, shema kolenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, hear our voice.
Avinu Malkeinu, chatanu lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you.
Avinu Malkeinu, chamol aleinu va'al ol aleinu v'tapenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families.
Avinu Malkeinu, kale dever v'cherev v'ra'av me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger.
Avinu Malkeinu, kale kol tsar umastin me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror.
Avinu Malkeinu, kodvenu b'sefer chayim tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the books of lives well lived.
Avinu Malkeinu, chadesh aleinu shana tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew us for a year of goodness.
Avinu Malkeinu, chonenu v'anenu, ki ein banu ma'asim, hasei manu tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshienu.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love.
Avinu Malkeinu, chonenu v'anenu, ki ein banu ma'asim. Avinu Malkeinu, chonenu v'anenu, ki ein banu ma'asim. Aseh iman tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshienu. Aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu Chonenu Vaneinu Ki ein banu masi. You may be seated. So, here's the question. If Rosh Hashanah is the birthday of the world, does that make God the big mommy? Janet and I were tossing this idea around, like, was God pregnant for billions of years until finally, Big Bang, out comes the cosmos, stars and planets and all? If so, Rosh Hashanah is a great big thank you to Mom for giving birth to us, which if you haven't thanked your mom for that one particular gift, you probably should. Now, there's always that lingering question of whether this was an accidental pregnancy or whether it was planned. If there is an expert on that subject, it was Steven Weinberg, the Nobel laureate in physics who died this past summer. Weinberg wrote the book, The First 3 Minutes, about, guess what? The first 3 minutes of the universe. Weinberg's perspective, however, did not stop at the boundaries of science. He extrapolated to what it all means. The Earth, he said, is a tiny part of an overwhelmingly hostile universe. The more that the universe seems comprehensible, the more it also seems pointless. Weinberg goes on to conclude that if all we are is dust in the wind, well, he didn't exactly use that line from the Kansas song, but that's his point, then in that case, religion is a delusion. Nobody cares about us. And in fact, the universe is entirely neutral with regard to human existence. Go pray to that. Now, as a person of faith, with great admiration for scientific discovery, and, in fact, a disdain for those who dismiss scientific evidence, as a rabbi dedicated to the compassionate care of a community filled with physicists and associated members of the scientific community, as the parent of children whose professional careers are dedicated to science, I feel just a twinge of pain in being regarded as a relic of ignorance. But that doesn't mean that Weinberg's claim doesn't merit a dignified response. I don't think it is respectful to patronize religion, but I do think that there is a question here that is important and deserving of a serious answer. I do not put Weinberg's claim in the same category as avowed atheists who demean religion as the source of all the evils in the world. Those folks would have us believe that religion is a manipulative device whereby the powerful dupe the ignorant, and that religion has led to war and the repression of knowledge throughout history. But Weinberg's claim is philosophical, not a social, economic, or political critique. You see, if we are just a speck of cosmic dust, then not only is God meaningless, but so are we. Of course, following this premise, poetry and good movies seem pretty pointless too. Weinberg raised a fundamental question that could only have come out of an understanding of the origins of the universe, an understanding for which we are indebted to physics. Jews like science. We appreciate knowledge. What then do we do with the claim that the universe is overwhelmingly hostile, that our existence is inconsequential? The first thing to point out is the exceedingly shallow understanding of what religion is, let alone what Judaism is. It is as though all of religion is concentrated in the first chapter of Genesis. Jews are astute enough to recognize a myth when we read one. Our own myths are worth reading for what they offer. They are not a textbook in cosmology, like some primitive science book that has been replaced by a more updated edition. If that's all it was, the Torah would not be worth reading. Rather, the Torah offers insights into the way our ancestors understood their place in the universe. And a person who cares about humanity does not discard the record of human striving to make sense of it all. Rather, we build on it. And that has always been the Jewish approach. Knowledge is cumulative, not static, not frozen in time. Knowledge continually reveals itself to us if we are open to growth. Consequently, Jews are particularly drawn to scientific and medical advances. Religion is an enterprise that we cannot avoid, though we might call it by a different name. Humans make meaning, and we express that meaning symbolically. 2 candles express an idea about time, which weekly we call Shabbat. Words uttered in devotion express an idea about identity, whether it is Shema Yisrael or I pledge allegiance to the flag. We live in a world of shared meanings and symbols, which it turns out are not universal. They are embraced by communities. To the extent that we ascribe ultimate value to these meanings and symbols, they are de facto our religion. When we read the story of creation in Genesis, it points to a belief that there is some structure to existence. No, I don't believe that God spoke the words, "Let there be light." Even if we do find it remarkable that our ancestors imagined light as the first element of creation, not a bad guess after all. But the symmetry, the regulated order that our ancestors saw in those first 6 days of creation was an answer to alternative ways of conceiving of existence. There are laws, physical laws, which nature obeys. The universe is not the product of a fickle deity, nor the result of war between competing powers. Rather, creation proceeds in stages, each building on what came before. If anything, the cosmogony of Genesis leads directly to the scientific endeavor, a desire to uncover the inner workings of those laws of nature. And yet, the most difficult challenge to people of faith is still there. If nature itself is uncaring, unconcerned, and devoid of personality, if we are a remarkable but nonetheless random outcome of the Big Bang, is there any reason to think that God exists? The problem with this framing is that it relies on a caricature of God and religion as a whole. What does it mean to marvel at a sunset? What does it mean to experience the sublime in music? What does it mean to feel fulfillment in writing and in justice? What does it mean to be filled with awe at the birth of a child? Are these illusions, deceptions, since after all the universe is hostile and unconcerned with our paltry existence? Does our randomness translate into insignificance? God is the way we acknowledge the potential for meaning. God is not a what. God is a when. It is a caricature to think of God as a being, let alone one who picks and chooses whom to reward and whom to punish. I do, however, have a choice in my life, whether to live with a sense of wonder, of gratitude, with a belief in human obligation to one another, or whether to live with anomie, that is, carelessness, aloneness, nihilism. I am not in the business of proving the existence of God. That is pointless. Proof is what you need to do science, to advance knowledge. Faith is not a noun. It is not something you have. Faith is a verb. It is something you do. We have the potential to live lives that come closer to God, not as a being, but as a transcendent condition. When I allow myself to be engaged with the wonder of existence, God is. When I feel called to a sense of responsibility that transcends self-interest, God is. When I experience the transformational presence of community, God is. You may say, that doesn't make sense. What is God? And my answer is that God is when, not what. It is too representational to reduce God to a thing, particularly one that directed the cosmos into existence. To gaze at the cosmos does not simply need to be an exercise in the physics of it all. Nothing in the science precludes our appreciation of the poetry, the majesty of existence. After all, isn't that what Rosh Hashanah is for? When we read a poem and analyze its structure, its rhythm, or repetition of words and sounds, we may understand it better, but that is hardly the same thing as being moved by it. When we encounter great art, we may want to know the artist's technique, the brush strokes, the chemical makeup of the paint, but that is not the same as feeling that the art speaks to us. Music is nothing more than waves of sound multiplied in various combinations, but it may also be the soundtrack of our lives. God is present in moments of encounter, if we are open to it. The Kotzker Rebbe was famously asked, "Where is God?" To which he replied, "Wherever we let God in." Whether the universe is overwhelmingly hostile strikes me as swinging the pendulum too far in the opposite direction of God being the great puppet master. I realize that the universe is neutral with regard to my existence, but the question of values is not pointless. It is the greatest challenge of being human. We aspire to lives of meaning, to something we believe is real and transcendent beyond human self-interest. It's not that God tells us what to do. Rather, God is present when we strive for the good. Maybe you will find my approach unsatisfying. It's not a proof. But the image of religion decried by atheists like Weinberg, as if religion is a myth, strikes me as lacking in appreciation for the power of symbols, the poetic language of prayer, the potential for good in those who feel called to act. We stand on a speck of dust, hurtling away from everything else in the universe at tremendous speed. And yet, we are privileged not just to discover where we stand, but to marvel at our existence. On Rosh Hashanah, a faithful Jew might say, contrary to Weinberg, that the more the universe is comprehensible, the more it seems not pointless, but wondrous. This evening, we have some announcements, lots to tell you about for the High Holy Days, and I believe that our announcements are going to be given by Janelle Lopez.
Good evening, Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
My name is Janelle Lopez, membership chair here at Congregation Beth Emek. Before I share some announcements, I'd like to thank Rabbi Milder along with our choir, tech benches, and behind-the-scenes crew support to help with the live stream of this service. Tomorrow, we continue with Rosh Hashanah services at 10:30 in the morning here in the sanctuary or online, followed by our family service in our courtyard at 2 o'clock. All the High Holy Day service schedules can be found on the home tab of our website. On Sunday, September 12th at 9:45 a.m., join families with young children for some High Holy Day fun. We will start the event by joining religious school in the sanctuary for Shirah, then move outdoors for some themed crafts. Throughout September, we are hosting our annual High Holy Day food drive to support access to healthy food in the Tri-Valley. This year, we're hosting the entire drive virtually by collecting donations to support the Alameda County Community Food Bank. Please consider a financial donation to support these organizations. Contributions can be made online through our website. Are you looking for ways to broaden your understanding of Judaism, improve your Hebrew, or learn a trope? Registration is now open for our 3 adult education classes, starting September 12th online, Hebrew from the Heart with Janet Ellis Milder. September 30th, Rabbi Milder will be our guide exploring the great Jewish books with People of the Book. This class is available online or in person. Our 3rd class is starting January 9th, is Learn to Chant Torah. The chanting of the prophets is a beautiful musical art. This class is taught in person by Rabbi Milder. Teens, come get creative at our first CBeat course, where you'll design a beautiful multi-part Judaica art piece. All experience levels are welcome. For additional information, all the links to register for these activities, please use the Once Around newsletter in your email or online at bethemic.org. Thank you.
Thanks, Janelle. Careful going down. Okay. I'm going to put this on one side. Okay. Our service continues now with Aleinu on page 82. Please rise.
ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינת אוצו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו ככתוב בתורתו וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא Adonai echad, Ushemo, Ushemo, Ushemo echad.
Page 86.
A sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey. From childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then, perhaps, to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness, and often back again. From health to sickness and back, we pray, to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until, looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage, made stage by stage, from birth to death, to life everlasting.
Mourner's Kaddish is on page 90. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah be'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'zman kari v'yimru amen. Yehi shemei rabbah mivarach l'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yit hadar v'yit alev v'yit halal shemei d'kudisha b'rechu le'ela u'le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechmata damiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru amen. May the source of peace bestow peace on all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, amen. Please be seated. Following our closing song, we'll conclude with the greeting for the new year, and with a kiddush and motzi. We will we'll do kiddush and shachionu, and then we'll be serving kiddush outside. So you'll be able to join us outside. Let's see, did we have a cup up here? It's coming up. Yeah, okay. Closing song, Adon Olam, page 94. And here we go. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa b'chefzocho azay melech shemo nivra v'yacharei kichot hakol levado yimlok nora lehu hayho lehu hoveh lehu yiyeh b'tifara lehu echad v'ein sheni lehamshilo lehakbira b'li reshit b'li taklit v'lo ha'oz v'hamitzvah v'hu eli v'chai go'ali v'tzor chavli v'et sarah v'hu nisi umanos li menat kotzi v'yom ekra v'yado avkidruki v'eti shan v'ayira v'imruki gaviyati Adonai li velo ira. Page 99. Our God, God of our ancestors, eternal God of all generations, may your presence in our lives this new year renew our spirits and renew our strength. May it be a good year. May it be a sweet year. Lishana tova tikatevu v'techatemu. May you be inscribed and sealed for a good year. Kiddush can be found on page 79. You'll hear that the melody for Kiddush on Rosh Hashanah is not the same melody that used on Shabbat, and it actually has a little bit of the High Holy Day musical motif in it. The bottom of the page, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol am, v'romamanu mikol hashon, v'kichanu b'mitzvotav. V'titen lanu Adonai Eloheinu be'ahava et yom hazikaron hazeh yom teruah mikra kodesh secher litziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'otanu kitashta mikol hamim udvarcha emet v'kayam la'ad Baruch atah Adonai, melech al kol haaretz, mekadesh Yisrael, v'yom hazikaron. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu, v'kiyamanu, v'higianu, lazman hazeh. L'chaim. Shana Tova to everybody. A good and sweet year. Please join us outside